Hi, my name is Emily and I'm a beekeeper, as you can see by all of the beautiful hives behind me. But I didn't always have this many hives.
I never pictured myself becoming a beekeeper. Now here I am adding 10 more hives and turning this hobby into a business. I guess I finally understand when people say your calling will find you, because I definitely could not have guessed this.
4 years ago, I started off with 2, but as my passion for bees grew, and I basically caught the bug.
Look at their little legs and their little butt, just poking around in the cell.
I found myself adding more and more and more hives. When I first started beekeeping, I didn't know anything about bees. In fact, I typed into Google where to get bees shipped to my door. Definitely not the best way to go about it, as most people usually spend a year learning about bees before they start their beekeeping journey. But I decided to dive in head first. Well, you could definitely say I paid for it, because during my first real inspection of my bees, after putting them in their hive, I ended up getting stung at least 20 times. Note to self, don't buy a cheap bee suit off of Amazon, because the bees can actually sting through it.
All right, let's see what we are working with here. Oh, we got some baby bees, I see.
By year 3, I decided I wanted to expand my 2 hives into at least 10.
Well, it turns out I still managed to get stung once. They got me in the foot. I didn't know I had a hole in my sock by my ankle, and they got to it. Dang it. But good news, so I actually was able to split another 2. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then the 2 other ones, so 9. So I'm gonna have 12 total now. Like, Jesus, I found some queens, so I took advantage and I took a couple of them out and put them in these hives, but the rest of them are gonna get the new queens that I got in the mail. So let's take them over to the other yard. We are about done. Oh, finally, I'm getting tired.
So as soon as Michigan Spring started to show herself, I ordered 8 queens and made single frame splits. My main hive, which I now call Chicote, was doing so well that I was able to make 10 splits out of her. When I had gone in, I had seen swarm cells, so I thought, hey, cool, extra queens, so hey, I can make some extra splits. Well, that is where I was wrong.
Okay, so it's a good thing I checked on them, because apparently there's no queen in there. There were no eggs, no brood, no nothing. They have nothing to make a queen. So I'm gonna go to one of my other hives and get some milk brood and throw it in there so that they don't become a laid worker colony. Great. I left eggs and brood in there when I split, but I honestly didn't give them very much. Like, it was pretty thin. I was taking a risk, so apparently I should have put more in there. So let's go get some milk brood.
This is when I learned that as soon as you see swarm cells starting, there is nothing you can do to keep the queen from leaving. Since then, I've learned to move the queen into something that would be called an artificial swarm. So to move her into another separate hive in a split, that is the only way you can actually keep your queen while also giving her that swarm response. Because in her mind, she thinks that she actually did leave and did swarm, but you're just tricking her and putting her in a different hive so that you don't lose her.
Still not really sure why they're all chilling out here on a cloudy, rainy day.
This is a prime example of wonky comb. So yeah, I really probably should have gotten a hold of this way sooner, but I was waiting on some new frames and boxes to come in. Okay, so I'm looking inside at the eggs and the larva. And do you see that cell right there in the middle that has 3 eggs? Well, you're probably thinking, well, maybe that the queen made a mistake. Well, here's another one with 3 eggs and 2 eggs. Let's see, there's one with a larva and another egg. 2 larvas, 2 larvas. Yeah, all of these cells have more than one larva or egg inside them, and that is the tell on whether you have a laying worker colony. And here is an example of what sac brood looks like. See that pointy nose? Now see how this piece of brood looks like it literally had its head chopped off? The bees will do this when the bee, the baby bee is infected with varroa.
I learned a lot in my 3rd year of beekeeping.
So I did my best to learn everything I possibly can about grafting, and I decided that instead of buying queens, I'm gonna graft them.
Especially when it comes to timing, because in beekeeping, timing is everything. It will actually dictate your success.
The key is to get larva that is really young, and it's supposed to be shaped like a comma, not C-shaped. So yeah, they're pretty small.
It seemed like I was one step behind the clock the whole year. In July, I purchased 10 more nukes to put my hive count at 22. The nukes I had purchased had post-summer solstice queens in them, which honestly was a game changer. The bees work off of the sun, so once the summer solstice has passed, the bees start preparing for winter as the days begin to shorten.
It's hard to tell right now because I just smoked them, but I will say I am very impressed with how quickly these bees are building up. All these, the nuke colonies that I got, they are building up very fast. So I will say they are very productive.
This is something that I use even today because it allows you to get a huge increase in the spring, but then when you add a post-summer solstice queen, you get another huge increase in the bees and your workforce.
Light.
She's nice and fat though.
Yeah, she is. It's one of the ones you grafted.
I don't know if it's because the queen is coming into a colony that has already started that stress response of preparing for winter, or if it's just because she is a brand new queen and she has to still develop all of her reproductive organs and essentially prove herself.
Oh, she's right there. She is beautiful. Look at that coloring. And this is a Viplodu daughter?
Yep, that's the blue daughter.
Wow. Black and gold. I love it.
Honestly, it's probably both, but nevertheless, it works.
Call me crazy, but I do believe that we can restore some, if not all, of the balance between the honeybees and the mites so that the honeybees are on top, and maybe one day, decades from now, mites won't even be an issue. I don't know. But I'm really interested in helping this fight, so I guess this is day 1 towards rearing queens with resistant qualities. For hive number 11, I'm showing only 2 mites, just 1.
Shortly after that, I came across a couple lectures by Mike Palmer talking about overwintering in nucleus colonies. It's safe to say that I became a little crazed as it was already August, but there I was building nuke box from scratch. First time ever building anything out of wood, let me tell you. And deciding I was going to try it even if they all die.
So over the last 3 days, I have been hard at work cutting wood and building 5-frame nukes, but not just regular 5-frame nukes, double-story 5-frame nukes. Now, you're probably wondering, why did I do this? I stumbled upon a lecture by Mike Palmer and Adrian Queenie, and I was so inspired by both. There are 19 of them here. I am going to put the double stacks on them later, but today I'm going to fill up all of these nukes with bees so that they are ready for queens. They can work wonders, so I decided I'm going to use them to my advantage. Yes, I wish I was learning about all of this sooner. I would have liked to start doing this in July, but I'm going to try it out in August and see what happens.
The queens didn't come back mated until the last week of August, and some of them not even until the first or second week of September. And with winter just around the corner and no fall flow, the bees weren't able to build up fully in preparation for the winter.
A couple of them, or some of them, I'm going to put the queens from that nuke in them today. But then the other ones, I'm leaving 10 empty because one of you guys that follows the channel, I know you said you didn't want a shout out, but Casey, you are the best. Really, your timing is impeccable. I will be getting 10 more queens to put into these hives tomorrow. So things are moving really fast in the BeeFit apiary, as I said.
But yes, I may have learned a really big lesson there, but nevertheless, if I would have never taken that risk, I would have never met Casey.
Let's just start the story like this. Alright, so this is my favorite chicken.
It looks really happy that you have it in his hands.
I don't know how to hold a chicken. Don't blink at me like that.
Yeah.
You're a velociraptor is what you are. Poof, you're a chicken.
Okay, anyways.
Okay. So, I tried the same experiment you tried last year and didn't have super amount of success. A couple of the hives made it through, but the timing was off. Timing is super critical, super important. So, I remember hearing your voice for the first time and being like, oh, I like that. And then I remember going home. I went home and sat down the moment like I got home. Sat down, whipped open YouTube, found the video because like obviously I couldn't do it at work. Found the video the first video I'd ever seen by you. Found that and I jumped on, got in the comment and was like, hey, I will just give you 20 queens. Just give them to you. No free charge.
I think it was 10.
10. Was it 10?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 10. So I told you I'd give you like 10 queens free charge. And you were like, bet.
No, I was like, I can't take 10 queens for your charge. I have to give you something back.
Oh yeah, you did. You gave me that.
So I built you a nuke.
You gave me a nuke box, which
Yeah.
I do appreciate, and I still have. I think you actually took it back.
Well, now we share equipment, so what do you mean?
That was my.
And also, little did I know you were really good at woodworking, so you're like, oh, hey, this nuke box is great. But you're like, on the inside, you're like, okay, you should have done this, you should have done that. That corner is bad.
Yeah, you got some amazing joints here.
Hey, it was my first time ever woodworking. I'd never like touched anything woodworking wise.
We'll get you,
So.
and you'll get way better. You're already gotten a lot better. I mean,
For
you're
sure.
gonna do way better.
But yeah, no, you commented, and I was like, oh my gosh, this would literally save me. So I messaged back.
And
Then we had to like work out the whole how to actually communicate, not via comments.
yeah, so that's where I would end up getting your email address from.
Yeah.
And then we would end up, like, I would text you back and forth on, with the email, then eventually came your phone number, I do believe.
Well, it was Facebook.
Facebook Messenger, yeah.
Yeah, and then my phone number.
And then your phone number.
Yeah, no, you gave me the queens. This is where it gets not so great without a bug. I can feel it.
Lightning bug.
So I'm driving with these queens on my seat, and I look over, and I'm like, wait, that one's not moving. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, is it too cold in here? Is it too hot in here? Is there too much wind? Should I roll the windows up? So I'm like trying to adjust the temperature. Okay, I keep driving because it's like an hour and a half drive. I get back to where I'm going. I look over. There's now 3 queens total dead. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what is happening? Get to the bee yard. By the time I get to the bee yard, all but 3 are dead.
Which would be the 3 that stung the other queens.
Hold on.
They were in hair roller cages. You should mention that. They weren't in queen cages with tilted vents. So they started stinging each other.
And at the time, I didn't know you weren't supposed to let them touch. So, yeah, they stung each other to death. And then you saw a video of me having them all in a bag.
Yeah. And I remember...
Oh, my gosh.
I remember because, like, the day I gave you the queens, we didn't speak again for another, like, what, 2 weeks?
Yeah.
was until I found a hive that had like 60 varroa mites. I was like, oh my gosh, I have to tell Casey.
Which would be around the same time she released that video and I saw her put the queens in the bag.
I felt so terrible. Like, I could not tell you. I was like, that's half the reason why we didn't talk. So I was like, if he's gonna ask how they went, like how yeah. And I was like, I can't tell him that they all but one died.
Which was funny because the one that didn't die was like
The Viplid, or it was whatever that queen's name then was.
that was I think it was God Queen Tyrene last year. Yeah, God Queen Tyrene.
She killed it though. Like, she was like a really heavy layer. And she overwintered really good. But then I took half her bees away on accident. Yep. I made a lot of mistakes, but that's part of the process.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. It happens. I mean, then I gave you 10 more.
Yeah. Yeah. And all your frames. Yeah. Not all your frames, but you gave me like a bunch of frames, and I was like, yeah, you're getting these back.
I gave you like, what, 5 nukes I had just sitting around.
Weak nukes.
Yeah, but... Wow.
No. Well, I'm trying to... Okay, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, no, they were just ones that I'd had queens come back in and just I didn't need. But anyway, so we started swapping bees back and forth like it was going out of style. It didn't really matter at that point. Like,
yeah.
Because we'd become really quick friends. Like,
yeah.
We communicate well, we talk well, we beekeep well.
I think it was half an excuse to talk to each other for why we were swapping bees back and forth.
It was. But...
Since you lived 2 hours away.
Yeah. And she was the only person who liked to talk about bees. Like, instead of telling me what to do with my bees, because that's one thing I talk to these, like, you talk to...
These nukes in here that also have mated queens in them. A very nice friend that follows the channel, he reached out and I got these queens from him. They are local, so that was very nice. But I'm going to combine these onto those. And yeah, so let's get started. And here's my queen. She's kind of hiding.
This was the first year that I ended up losing quite a few hives. And that's because of the late splits I did. The bees weren't prepared the best way that they could be in terms of honey stores and cluster size. And at the time, I was getting myself out of a bad situation and making some really big life changes. I ended up moving the bees twice, which is no easy task, but I could say that I'm kind of a pro with the hive mover now. It is seriously a game changer, and if you've ever thought about getting one and you have a lot of hives to move, it is definitely worth it. I worked my tail off this last winter, working 12-hour days, 60-hour weeks in a factory, just so that Casey and I could buy these.
So as you guys know, I have been working really hard, working 60 hours a week in a factory, saving up as much money as I possibly can because I have really big plans for BeFit Beekeeping this year. So I've been saving up my money so I can make one deal that is really going to be a game changer for everything, including those goals that I have set for myself. And a couple of you guys have mentioned that if I'm going to be doing these pollination contracts, I'm going to need genetics that are made to do that. And you are not wrong with that. So I have been listening, and